Hello and welcome to the Nebraska Prep Zone Report, a podcast from the World-Herald. We are brought to you today by MD West One, Nebraska's most advanced sports medicine, orthopedics, neurosurgery, and spine care, covering Greater Omaha for over 70 years. I'm your host, Jake Anderson. Joining me as always, the wonderful Mike Sautter. How are you doing today, Mike?
Well, wonderful can be a stretch depending on who you ask, but I'm doing pretty good today.
We are going to get into week 2 of high school football. Last week was fantastic. A lot of good games, a lot of great finishes. So let's get right into it. And let's start off with your Pinnacle Bank game of the week, Omaha Skutt and Waverly.
Omaha Skutt Waverly. So that won our Pinnacle Bank game of the week by a landslide vote. It wasn't even close. Which I'm fine with that. It's cool. People vote. That's cool. It's kind of one of, if it wasn't the game of the week, I'd probably go to that one anyway. If we didn't have game of the week stuff. So it is the fourth time that Skutt will travel to Waverly in the last 2 years. So they're very familiar with that trip. They're very familiar with the grass field and the locker room situation and all that. So none of that's really new.
This is the first time of those matchups that Skutt is going there without Tyson Gordon, though.
Correct. And it's actually the last 5 times the teams have played, Skutt's won all 5. So Waverly has a really nice team. Evan Kenoyer is a really nice player, athlete. Trevor Brown on the line, all of that, and Waverly's ranked number 1, so it would be an upset. Even though Skutt has won 26, 27 straight games in a row, but like you said, it's a brand new team. A lot of those guys didn't have a ton of experience last year. They're still trying to mix in some of the OPS or Burke kids that transferred and that looked for a home to play, and I don't blame them for doing it at all. So there's some, would it shock me if Skutt won? No. Would it shock me if Waverly won that game? No. Both teams run the ball. It could be like a total of an hour and a half or 45-minute game. Could go pretty quick. Just because of the way the offenses go, and they just want to impose their will on the ground game and on the line play, and win games that way. Which that's fine with me too. So should be fun. I'm guessing it'll be kind of a little bit of a, as much as it can be a raucous environment. It kind of will be. There's absolutely no love lost for Skutt no matter where they go. But I think this one has a little extra oomph behind it, and Waverly, I feel like they're thinking they got payback for the last handful of times they played, and like I said, they got a really good team this year. So we'll see. That one should be a really fun game.
It'll be interesting to see if the Vikings can break through and earn their first win in the past 5 matchups. Our other top matchup of the week, they're all good. Number 2 in Class A, Millard South, at number 4, Elkhorn South. Both teams 1-0. Elkhorn South, you could say, escaped last week against Millard West. That was a back-and-forth game in the final 3 minutes. Either team could have won. What are we looking for out of the Patriots and the Storm?
Yeah, it was a wild last few minutes of that game. Elkhorn South felt like they had kind of the game in control. Millard West comes back, scores late, and then Elkhorn South just on I believe it was a 4th and 10, gets a 30, 40-yard pass and catch for a first down all the way down to the 5 or whatever it was. And then Carson Crouch kicks the game-winning field goal. So Millard South, Elkhorn South they're similar styles, have a lot of little quick athletes. They got some other guys that can – Elkhorn South has some little more size, I guess, at the wide receiver position that can go up and get balls. But Both teams are similar, like to run their quarterbacks, like to actually just run the ball and play really good defense. The last time these two played, Millard South, Elkhorn South, it was late in the year last year, and Millard South kind of controlled that one and won. And it was at Elkhorn, so similar kind of situation, but this one's obviously earlier in the year, and a lot of changes to both teams. So the line play is really interesting in this matchup. You have on the offensive line for Elkhorn South, obviously Teddy Prohaska and Isaac Zadiska and Cooper Taylor are 3-year now starters on the offensive line for them. But Millard South has some of their own. Jack Nicholson and Bo Went are multi-year starters for them. And then Nolan Olafson's a really nice player that came over from Burke after OPS basically canceled their seasons. So 3 really good linemen. The one thing that struck me kind of as not odd, but I was like, oh, okay. Isaac Zadiska played pretty much the whole game both ways, which credit to him. That kid is a stud. And, I think he's severely kind of under-recruited. That's just my opinion. So it should be a fun game. And Elkhorn South was without Mekhi Nelson Douglas. He was a quarantine casualty, if you will. So he didn't play last Thursday. I don't know if he'll be out of quarantine in time to play Friday. And then Dylan Krause, their starting quarterback, he got sick in the middle of the game and didn't finish the game. He played just a little bit in the first half, so we'll see if he's fully healthy and all that. Ben Warren's a nice running back for Elkhorn South too. So,
speaking of running backs, we should mention Isaiah Harris's replacement at Millard South. Taquan Johnson had a good game against Millard North in week 1.
Right. And Millard South did what they do, right? They just play really good defense and try and create turnovers and run the ball with a star running back. And it looks like they found another one after Isaiah Harris was, all Nebraska first team and just a stud. The last 2 years for them, he was really good. So Taquan's a guy that he's a little longer and taller than Isaiah. They also have Antrell Taylor to get the ball to as a wideout. Stangers are nice athletes, and Jake Gassaway is a really good player too, a linebacker / wide receiver. That one should be, I think, pretty close. And Elkhorn South has obviously a lot of confidence, I think, after beating Millard West last week, and Millard South handled Millard North, so they're feeling probably pretty good about themselves too. So that one should be really good.
On to the next one, Battle of Lincoln. Number 5, Lincoln Southeast, 1-0 against Lincoln Southwest. Both Lincoln Southwest is 0-1. That's probably Lincoln's best going at it.
Yeah, you would think this year for sure. I think those are the 2 best teams. And Lincoln Southwest, Gretna's a team that I don't think maybe we probably should start talking about a little bit more. When I say we, I mean just in general in the season. Zane Flores is a fantastic quarterback as a sophomore, and he is really, really good. Southwest just they got it was 41-7 or 36-7, whatever the score was. Gretna beat Southwest, so Southeast had a nice kind of grinder of a game against Kearney out in Kearney and won it, which is not super easy to do out that way. So Southeast has some great athletes too. Jake Applegate is just a junior and a really nice athlete. So Southeast has a really nice team. They lost a lot last year, including Isaac Gifford and a handful of other guys. And for them to kind of keep it rolling, it feels like is good to show that kind of sort of consistency. That's that 8:15 game. That's always a little kind of quirky, but they're used to playing in that game or at that time at Seacrest. So it on a normal night without, fan restrictions and that, this game would probably pull in 7,000-8,000 people. And so that one kind of stinks with the environment not being able to, people not being able to show up.
The next one we have here is a replacement for both teams. Lost my tab here. Number 1, Omaha Westside 1-0, traveling to number 8 Kearney 0-1. Nice road trip there for Westside to replace Omaha North on their schedule. And what stood out about that Westside prep game last Thursday is the amount of athletes that Westside has. It just seemed like another play. It was another guy getting the ball, different guy. Everybody has speed. Everybody can take it to the house anytime.
Yeah, it also helps when you have Cole Payton at quarterback. I mean, that guy he's phenomenal. And for my money, he's the best quarterback in the state. I've said that for a while now. And I'm not backing off of that at all, in particular after watching just 1 week. It's not always good to make giant sweeping, generalizations after 1 week. But they looked, in mid-season form. They came out kind of ready to play, forced a fumble on the first offensive play of the game. And then they got stopped on, a fourth and goal. So Prep's defense showed up kind of in that first quarter. They did a really nice job. And then
that first quarter was a lot of opening week kind of working the kinks out. And then you had the bomb to Vontae Dickerson, and it just seemed like the dam burst.
Yeah, once that play happened, it was like, okay. Like you could feel a little bit of the air coming out or deflatedness for Prep against them. And, they just have guys all over the field, like you said. I think it'll probably be a tough one for Kearney. Coach Cool does a great job. Quick story about Coach Cool. He was actually my JV football coach when I was a sophomore in high school out at Sutherland, Nebraska. So he's been at Kearney for a lot of years now after being the coach at Sutherland. So it's always cool to see him, however many years ago that was. We'll keep that between me and him. So
it was just 5 years ago.
Right. So he does a nice job. The program's always good and competitive, and they were leading Southeast for a time, and they're going to have to play really good defense and sound defense, and that's kind of what they do or try and do normally anyway. So, but it's going to be a tough task. Westside's really, really good.
And I want to jump to Class C1 before I have our last Class A game to watch. Number 1 in Class C1, Wahoo, 1-0, hosting number 6, Adams Central, also 1-0. This is kind of an early season test for both teams.
Yeah, Wahoo, Coach Fox and Wahoo, man, he's just kind of pumping them out right now. I mean, he's state champs last year, got another really good team. They're always really, really good. Program is doing a nice job of just kind of keeping it plugging along, right? Plug and play type of program, and that's what you want. And Adams Central throws it a little bit. Cam Foster's a really nice wide receiver, kind of defensive back for them. It's a tough test for both teams early. We'll kind of see how good Adams Central is. They had to replace a quarterback, and Wahoo obviously had to replace a bunch of guys too. So it's a nice test. It's a really good game. I actually thought about putting that one up for a game of the week, but I was just in Wahoo last week for Newman. I know, the Wahoo Warrior fans don't really care about that part, but I decided not to. But I'll keep my eye on that one. That one's a very intriguing matchup, if you will.
And let's take it back to Class A. This isn't necessarily a matchup to watch. I don't think it'll be on anyone's must-watch list. But I bring it up for the fantastic stat I found, as well as it'll transition us to our next part of the podcast.
Okay.
Bellevue West, Bellevue East. The rivalry continues.
Does it?
The score for that series the past 5 years. Do you have any idea what it is combined?
A lot. I think it's Well, they didn't score last year. I think they only scored 6 2 years ago. Bellevue East. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's got to be 80 and 60.
It is 334 to 6 the past
Yeah,
5 years.
yeah. I knew that. I knew that the Bellevue East side was pretty low. And I thought I was gonna say 10, but I knew it was 10 or kind of right around there. And then I knew it was in the hundreds for Bellevue West, but that's a lot.
That's not to bash on Bellevue East,
No,
because
yeah.
Bellevue West has been the marquee program in the state, arguably during that time, them and a few others. But it leads us into our next part here, because this will be our first look at the Thunderbirds this season. They didn't play last week, and they have a couple of athletes who, in the class of 2022, who got some attention yesterday: Mike O'Reilly and Caden Helms.
Yeah. I'm looking for it real quick. Let me find it, but it's Bellevue West has lost to Bellevue East in football in the last,
I think, about 15 years. The only loss was, I think, 2008, 35-34. I could have the year wrong.
Yeah, it's been a really, really long time. Let me look here. I got it. It's been 2009. Bellevue East beat Bellevue West 35-4. Since 2002, Bellevue West has won every game except for that one. So not necessarily a rivalry. I mean it is, because they're always going to be. But I mean, somebody's got to beat somebody in order to make it a rivalry, right? So, anyway, 2-year as far as the athletes that got attention, on Tuesday, when the first contact period. When I say contact period, I mean contact as in college coaches can actually send a text message or direct message or whatever to those 2022 or junior athletes, and that's for football. Basketball was earlier this year in the summer. But Caden Helms and Mike O'Reilly, the two biggest names, I guess, in that junior class for Bellevue West. They had a couple linemen got some love too. Those guys, they got a lot of attention. And Clemson is one school that reached out to both of them, and both have offers from Nebraska.
Another school that reached out to both of them that caught my eye was Iowa.
Yeah, right.
That pipeline just got the commit from Keegan Johnson. I thought that was interesting.
Right.
Iowa likes their tight ends.
Yeah, obviously they like tight ends and feel like they have a good kind of relationship there, and that's that ton of truth to that, right? And they've done a really good. Coach Woods actually has done a really good job recruiting in Nebraska or in the Metro. He's done a really nice job of kind of making the rounds and building connections there. We'll see with Riley. Like he's got a lot. I mean, he's got a lot of attention. They both do. Georgia 4 coaches from Georgia text him on, right after kind of midnight or early on Tuesday morning. Clemson was the first school to reach out to him. Obviously, Nebraska and all those other teams that he has offers from reached out. Same thing with Helms. But the two guys, Henry Rickles, their offensive lineman, he probably translates to an offensive guard. He got a lot of attention too from Division I coaches and Northern Illinois and schools like that, kind of that level ish. We're the ones, South Dakota State, Wyoming, Kansas, North Dakota State. They're the ones that kind of reach out to him. And Caden Camise, he's a big dude. He's only like, when I say big, I mean kind of wide and been in the weight room, shoulders guy. He got a lot of attention as well from a handful of different FCS or group of 5 schools. And he's going to have a really nice year. I think, a lot of people look at that Bellevue West defense last year and they only gave up 65 points. And They were really, really good. Their offense obviously was really good, and their offense is the thing that people talk about. But that defense this year is going to be probably has a chance to be a little better than what they were last year, and that's saying quite a lot.
The two other marquee guys that we should mention are two OPS players, which also leads into I want to get your thoughts on the protest yesterday in Lincoln. But first, Devin Jackson, the Omaha Burke linebacker, and Deshaun Woods, the Omaha Central lineman. Both were very busy yesterday.
Yeah. Whenever you get like a text at 12:30 in the morning, it kind of wakes you up. But I kind of woke up I wasn't, I guess, fully asleep, but I kind of just jolted. Deshaun Woods had Ohio State was the first school to talk to him. He had a list of schools right at midnight. I'm talking like the first 3 minutes of midnight. And he said he waited to stay up until then to see who would be kind of the first and all that. So, when you have Ohio State hitting you up, that's pretty good. I mean, that just tells you how good of an offensive lineman or player he is. Ohio State doesn't need to go to Nebraska to get an offensive lineman or any position for that matter.
Where do you think he projects at the next level? Is he more of a tackle, guard?
I think he's probably a guard. We'll see. I don't think he's done growing at all. So we'll see how he kind of physically develops. He's put together extremely well. So we'll see where he's at. I mean, obviously he has offers from Nebraska and Iowa, and has an offer from Florida and Texas A&M and I think LSU. So like he'll end up being able to basically pick wherever he wants to go, I think, when it's all said and done. It does hurt him, him and Devin both. Devin got some love too. Auburn offered him yesterday. He's the only one that kind of got an offer yesterday as far as the juniors are concerned. We'll see what happens with those two guys and if the recruitment continues or it slows down by not, having sports this fall or being able to play this fall and get some stuff on film. And Devin Jackson is a guy that, people just peg at linebacker, and the only film he has is him on kickoffs and linebacker. He was going to play some wide receiver this year, and that dude is fast. And literally you just throw the ball as far as you can and he'll just go catch it because you're not going to overthrow him. He's just that fast. So that would have been fun to see, and also fun to see just kind of, him get some film of that athleticism that he has, because he's a freak of an athlete. He's a kid that you can put in the red zone as a red zone target, just throw a jump ball up and he'll jump higher than the next guy.
And that's where these kids also miss out on not having camps this spring and summer.
Right. Being able to kind of show that is important, and it stinks for those guys. But, yeah.
The question that I had for you, looking over these offers, and I'm browsing them again one more time while we're talking, as someone that tracks this every year, are you ever surprised when an Ohio State reaches out to a kid at 1201? Does it seem like it's kind of building more and more every year, or is it just expected at this point?
Yeah, I think it's building more and more every year. I think, and it's fantastic, right? It's awesome for kids from Nebraska that are getting this attention. Part of it is maybe, I point to guys like Avante Dickerson. I point to guys like Cade Johnson, who was a walk-on initially at South Dakota State that's now like when he said he was putting his name in the transfer portal, he got hit up by virtually everyone. When I say virtually everyone, I mean all but a handful or just a few schools did not hit him up in the Big Ten. One of those was Nebraska. But Minnesota really wanted him. Florida State wanted him, or wants him, wanted him, all that stuff. So feels like he's still yet to kind of really fully make a decision on what he wants to do as far as his future. He might end up going back to South Dakota State. Who knows? I don't think he really fully knows yet. But that's, guys like that, and you're Noah Fant, and even before Easton Stick and When the more guys from Omaha kind of go and are super successful, not just at Nebraska, but outside of Nebraska, it's really good for Nebraskans. And also guys like, Thomas Fedoni, who's just at Lewis Central. Well, him and Micah Riley worked out all summer kind of together at Warren Academy stuff. And that helps because Thomas Fedoni has all these, coaches or recruiting coordinators and that following him maybe on social media. And if he's sharing his buddy Micah Riley stuff and all that on social, then you never know who's watching that stuff. So
it's kind of like the top basketball prospect that
right.
they bring all the college scouts to the gym,
right.
And okay, well, who's this teammate? Similar to the Warren Academy, everyone was at that to see Thomas Fedone, and who's this guy over there from Millard North?
Yeah. I mean, it's very similar, and really, what's funny is not funny, but just a coincidence. You look at the parallel between kind of this junior/senior class, as far as football is concerned, has got a lot of love and attention, and rightfully so. From big name schools, right? Well, basketball is very similar right now, where you have Hunter Salas and Chucky Hepburn kind of leading the way for everyone else in that class, and sort of bringing everyone along and hoping that they can help out their teammates and all that. I mean, one thing that really benefited, I think, St. Thomas, not only he's a really good basketball player, one thing that really helped him and Jaden Johnson was playing at Millard North with Hunter. You had, last summer/fall, there were so many coaches that came to their open gyms. So many coaches just came to open gym on a Tuesday night in, September, October, November, before practice started. And even at practices, they'd show up. And at games, there was, coaches everywhere, majority of the time. And that helps. That helps generate attention for teammates and other people that maybe they're playing or, and give attention to them. So
the Kansas scout that's at Millard North practice, he sees, the backup center. Well, he's not a fit at Kansas, but I know this guy at Northwest Missouri State.
Or whatever. Yeah. Like examples like that. I mean, coaches know each other. They do. And they're willing to help each other out. If this guy maybe doesn't fit here, I got a buddy that works for this school. Maybe I'll call him and get him on this kid. And that stuff happens all the time. So it's similar. I mean, it's kind of neat to see, obviously, for someone that tracks it, and it's basically my job to do that. It's pretty awesome to see that and what's happening right now in Nebraska.
Real quick before we get out of here, I just kind of want your takes. What was your main 3 takeaways from the protest yesterday at OPS? It seems unlikely that they'll reverse the decision for fall sports, but there were a lot of people in attendance. There's a lot of support for OPS. What was that scene like?
Yeah, there was I would say roughly 200-ish people out there, student athletes. There was dance team from Bryan. There was Benson kids there. All 7 schools were represented, and multiple sports: cross country, track, dance team. Like I said, football. Omaha North had a strong football contingent out there. Omaha Northwest basketball players were there. Omaha South had cross country and soccer and football. Omaha Burke's, I think, entire softball team was there. So there's and girls basketball players were there. There was a football player there. I mean, it was it was neat to see kids using their kind of voice or the best way they know how. I wouldn't have necessarily called it a protest. I think it was just kind of more of a really peaceful rally. They just wanted to sit, stand on. Well, they actually wanted to stand at the end of the parking lot, but they wouldn't let them. But they just stood on the sidewalk and kind of just like made their voice heard, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that. And and you do feel bad for some of those kids, and not everyone's a Devin Jackson, right? Not everyone is even Hunter Push, who's committed to South Dakota but just wants to play his senior year. Not everyone is that kid. Not everyone is committed to a school or has recruiting attention. A lot of the lower level colleges and universities at NAIA Division II level, they rely on that senior film to recruit kids, and they rely on being able to go see kids, and they can't. Like they can come out and go to football games and stuff, and normally they do, and they rely on that. Not just football. I mean, cross country, the times that kids run as seniors, they're more mature. They've been working hard and all this stuff, and now they don't have those times to post, and don't have that opportunity. Same thing, softball, all sports, right? So at those lower levels, getting a scholarship offer that's maybe not a full ride, but still it's going to be something that helps alleviate student loans maybe, or something like that. So to go with the academic money, I feel really bad for those kids. And I understand the decision. I do. But I also, it's just my opinion that I wish they would have given the OPS kids an opportunity to at least give it a try. And it feels like that just, obviously that didn't happen, but it feels like it just was never gonna happen, which
right.
makes
it. And
it's
even tougher when Stu had today that the NFHS had that no COVID-19 cases came out of last Friday's action or last week's action. And granted, about a month ago, we were here saying, it's probably growing that there might not be high school football.
But I'll say with that, I mean, we're only a couple days-ish away. I'm sure there'll be some cases that pop up and different things. And I mean, like I said, Mekhi Nelson Douglas is just an example of one kid that had to quarantine. Grand Island Northwest starting quarterback had to quarantine last week. He didn't test positive, but he was in a classroom with someone that did. So those examples will happen all throughout the year. But I think people are just so fortunate. I think that's what we need to kind of realize. I mean, athletes and coaches and parents and all of that actually get the opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities, whether it be clubs and, like I said, dance team, cheerleading, all that stuff. I mean, what about like forensics teams? Like a kid wants to go to MIT, but he can't, he's smart enough and all that stuff, but really the robotics team would kind of help him get there if he kind of was able to do that. It's not just athletics, right? I mean, you're talking about other things too. So
debate team,
all of that stuff.
It's a tough decision for a lot of parents and kids.
Right, and it stinks. So at the end of the day, it stinks for those people. But you do understand, like, all right, like it's the state's largest school district, and do we just want to really worry about trying to spread things around in schools and athletics and all that? But I think there was a way they probably could have got something done or should have. That's just my opinion. But again, like I said, I do understand the decision. I don't fully agree with it, obviously, but I do understand why. I guess I understand why they did it.
Definitely. And like you said, we should focus on the players and the parents and that are playing, and they are lucky and they are very fortunate to be out there coming up this week for week 2 of high school football. And this should be a good weekend of high school volleyball, softball as well. So until next time, follow Mike Sautter on Twitter for those high school football and volleyball updates. And thanks for listening.
As the official team doctors for high school and college teams across Greater Omaha, MD West One Sports Med Doctors can get you back into the game stronger than ever. Meet the Sports Med team at mdwest1.com or call 402-390-4111.